everyone. Welcome to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara.
I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Ron.
And today we are talking about Queen Sugar. We're going to be discussing episodes 12 and 13. So hang tight and we'll be right back with you.
Baby, I know where the last one burned you. Know that ain't cool. Wanna show you how I'm nothing like him. Swear that's the truth. So you can't trust that I'll...
Okay, we're back. And like I said, we're talking about Queen Sugar today. The two latest episodes of season 2. And this 13 was a bomb.
We could spend all day on just 13 alone, but we're gonna try to delve into a little bit of the one before that as well. But 13 had a lot going on.
Yeah, it did.
A lot.
Man. And then we're gonna open up the floor for discussion a little later on.
Yes, we are, as we've been hinting toward in the past few episodes, that we're going into our episode of Black relationships. So the topic that I'd like to start off with, now brothers, I know it's going to seem like I'm on a sellout routine, but I'm not. I'm not selling you guys out. I just thought that we're going to get ourselves over and done with first, and then we can get to the ladies in some fashion some other time. Anyway, the topic is the top 10 mistakes that men make in relationships. And boy, do I have quite a few things to share with us, about us.
This is going to be a good one. So y'all hang tight. Make sure that, after we finish our discussion of Queen Sugar, you stick around for the real talk portion.
Yes.
It's real.
It's going to get real. And two, of course, your comments are always on point. I love to hear them, even so much as what you think about the topic and our next few episodes on Black relationships, Black love. So here we go.
All right, so let's dive into our Queen Sugar discussion. I want to talk about Charlie first.
Yes, me too.
Charlie, man, she's a little all over the place. I really thought initially that she was the one that had it all together. But the more we see and the more we learn about Charlie, she is kind of, she's a trip.
Loose cannon on some ways. Got it going on in a lot of areas, but when it comes to relationships, I'm not sure where Charlie's headed. I think, in my opinion, there's still some burning embers with with Davis, her husband, or now ex-husband. I'm not sure if she's ready to get into a thing with Remy right now.
Right.
And she's more or less seemingly pushing a physical relationship with Remy and not something more long-term, which is, I think, what Remy is looking for.
Right. And I think from the jump, I've said this before and I'll say it again, both Davis and Charlie are moving on into new relationships way too soon. Like, they have not they haven't given themselves any time
to grieve their marriage.
Exactly. And you can see it all over each of their face, like when Davis comes back into Charlie's house and Charlie's there with Remy, and you can see Davis is like visibly like, oh, this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And
he doesn't want to accept the reality that she's trying to move on.
Exactly. And Charlie too.
And Charlie as well.
And the reality is his fault that they're there. Because had that other stuff not occurred in their relationship, Charlie would still be there.
Right. And I think when he kind of apologized to her for everything that went down, you could still see Charlie. She was still kind of feeling like, dang, maybe if you had said this a little bit sooner, we might have been able to salvage this.
Yeah, I think that he was a little bravado in the very beginning, not fully, almost not understanding what he had done to his wife.
Yeah, he didn't show much remorse. It was more so like...
It was just a thing.
Brush it under the
get
rug.
over it type of thing. And women don't respond that way. He should know better than that.
No.
Guys.
We need to add that to the list. We're going to talk about that.
Oh, it's somewhere in there. I'm sure we can get back to this. But, you can look in her eyes and see that she's not done. She's not done. And Davis, of course, it's his fault. Your fault, man. But,
I think he feels remorse now.
You
can tell that because he lost her.
But their relationship was never perfect to begin with.
Right.
And I don't know, do we go out and seek perfect relationships where there are no flaws?
There are none.
Well, that's the thing about being in a very public relationship. Like, he's kind of a celebrity.
He is a
celebrity. And so they're in the public eye, people always try to portray themselves as more perfect than they are.
Right, and that does demand a certain amount more respect than you would have in anything else, because you not only have to play the public, but you have to also, you have to be yourself, but you have to be a part of what the public sees you as well. So you're really never living the life that you think you should live or want to live with your spouse or your family members, because you have this public persona that you have to deal with.
Exactly. And you know, another moment that I thought that, you know, Davis really endeared himself to Charlie is like when she was trying to find a venue to hold the carnival for the harvest, the festival, and Remy had gone out his way. He had secured a venue, and then at the last minute, the Landrys keep foiling all of their plans. And Davis comes in and says, why don't you do it at the mill? And he kind of just throws out that suggestion, and he's like reminding her of some instance that happened when they were younger, and she kind of like warmed up to that. And so I think she really appreciated that coming from him, and the fact that they reminiscing about the past and Remy sitting right there, and I was like, oh, this is just so weird. But you can see that they have not moved on.
No, and the thing is, they were a good team at one point. They were a team. She managed him. She did a lot of things. So, and she's accustomed to a certain lifestyle. Like, she's accustomed to getting her way. Yes. Living in the limelight, being in Hollywood. And something that you guys said that I wanted to go back to, when you said she seems like she has it all together and everything. When it comes to matters of the heart, no matter how together you are, you know.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame.
It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, that's true too. But I don't know. With Charlie, it just seemed like she was trying to force her relationship on Davis, like rub it in his face when she went up and called Remy to the stage to kiss him. It's like she's trying to prove a point.
And tell me something, from you all's point of view, as being women, what was the point of all that?
She was trying to make it known that I'm moving on. Because if you remember, Davis had suggested that Tamar, the singer, come and perform at the festival too, just to, you know, provide some entertainment. But Charlie kind of picked up like, there's something else there. Like, you and her, y'all more than just acquaintances. And she wanted to rub that in, like, oh, you moved on, so did I.
So did I.
Well, but then again, Davis said to her, you know, that's just a thing. That's not serious.
No, that's what he said about the other things that went on, too.
Well, but they weren't, because he was just being a man. He was just doing his thing.
Right, so this is reminiscent.
And not to say that a woman can't be a woman and do her things, but you function differently, and I think that, you know, Charlie has, there are deeper issues with Charlie. Even when the party's going on, and it's a big hit as far as the community is concerned, she's in the corner, you know, reeling over the fact that it couldn't be that grandiose show that she expected it to be from point one.
Well, she's her mother's daughter.
I was about to say,
she is her mother's daughter. Her mother is the one that wanted to
control
everything.
It has to be a grand display, and she's just like that.
She's just like her
And
mom.
it happened at last week at the sugar mill when they had the grand opening. It didn't go her way, and it just went to hell in a handbasket.
So again, Remy, Charlie, is that a good? Do you see a fit there?
I would like to see her with Remy, because I think Remy is a good guy and everything. But if it doesn't work out, it's gonna be Charlie's fault.
Well, I know we're gonna talk about Nova in a second, but Nova, I think seems to have it, and she's on point with what she said to Dubois, and I think that same thing is very suited for Remy and Charlie, in the sense that you might be, you know, I may be good for you in a sense, but really, are you good for me? Are you what I really need?
Yeah.
And I think Charlie, that's an assessment that Charlie really has to make over with Remy, because I can see the love that Remy is trying to provide and wants to give her, and he wants to give her everything. And I'm not certain if Charlie is ready for that, regardless to where she is with Davis. I just don't think that she's ready. I don't think that that's the type of thing she wants. I'm not even totally sure.
The timing is bad.
It is.
That's because when you first get out of a divorce, you have to mourn that relationship anyway.
I agree.
And so, and it's not healthy to just jump into a full committed relationship with someone. So I just think that she needs to get herself together first. She can still enjoy getting to know Remy and spending time with him and dating him, but as far as a full on, like what he's looking for, he's looking for marriage and children and stuff, she's not there yet.
But why waste his time? Because that's what he wants.
Right. That doesn't mean that she won't be ready at another time.
But it doesn't
means
mean
right now.
But it doesn't mean that she will be either. So here's the problem with that, because what you find in that type of situation where a person isn't, in fact, she said it herself, she's not sure if she ever wants children again or want marriage again.
Yes.
And we know
she might be saying that in the moment. Though.
But the problem, but here's the problem with moments. Okay, they turn into hours, days, decades. If it's not inherent in her to want those things, and she can't express it, then look, Remy, you could be wasting your time.
Halle Berry said she wasn't getting married again after she married Dave Justice. She got married two more times after that.
Knee jerk.
So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes people say stuff in the moment based on how they're feeling at that time.
She said that when they were about to get it on.
Well, first of all, that's Remy's fault. Because when you ready to get it in, you don't be trying to have no deep conversation like that when you're ready to get in.
First of all, he probably peeped when I peeped. Remy's eyes was in the ceiling. It didn't seem like Charlie's eyes was in the ceiling. She didn't seem like she had an epiphany right when she was about to get some nookie.
She did. Because I think that it was in that moment she realized we not on the same page.
Exactly.
Because of what he said.
No. Remy started kissing on her, kissing down on her. Her eyes were straight up in the ceiling, and she had an epiphany. And that epiphany was...
That might have been a look of ecstasy.
That was no ecstasy. I've seen ecstasy, and that ain't it. Okay?
No, ecstasy ain't the same for every woman.
I beg to differ. I beg to differ.
No, it ain't the same for every woman.
If you putting your work in, you putting your work in.
No,
and I can tell you right now, your eyes
he hadn't even got started yet. First of all, he should not have been having that conversation right when they were getting ready to get it in.
Pillow talk is for
pillow talk. No, that was too deep.
You can't tell me that look that she had with that stoic look in the ceiling, like a deer in headlights, had anything to do with ecstasy.
Well, it could have been like, I can't believe this is happening. Finally.
No, Tiffany.
Because they've been.
What am I gonna do with her?
I'm just saying, you are absolutely right. That was not the time for that conversation.
Right.
But I think it was good that it happened. Because I think they both was like, okay, hold on.
It had to happen at some point.
We about to get it on. And we're not even, we not where we thought we were.
I think the conversation should have happened before they even got to that point.
It really should have. Thank you.
I agree. But again, it's because of the miscommunications in their love relationship. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think that Remy is in love with her. Mm-hmm. She even said he wants her forever. He gave her a forever thing. He sure did. Mm-hmm. She's like, oh, whoa, can we just love each other now?
Right.
Charlie, you love him. You love things about him. You love his intelligence. You love the way he's helped you. You love the kind of man he is. But you're not ready to be in love with him. Mm-hmm. And that right there is a miscommunication in love language. And if it hadn't happened at that point, it might not have ever happened until something more conclusive had come along, like marriage. Right. And then they find out in their marriage, we're on two different pages.
Exactly.
And that happens more often than not, because love is a language. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you're speaking French and I'm speaking Spanish. Mm-hmm. And if you're not bilingual.
Yeah. And you mentioned something off camera. We were talking a little bit beforehand, and you were kind of saying how with Remy and Charlie, I think they were it was a scene where they were sitting at the table and they were kind of discussing. It seemed kind of awkward, but you were saying how they kind of take each other for granted.
Right.
And they did. They really was just going with the flow and, loving what each other was offering to the other, but not really realizing what they were doing.
What type of love they were getting from one
exactly.
another. They just took for granted that this is a relationship that can happen, should happen, maybe we want it to happen, but not understanding fully what the other one wants in that relationship. And it just came to head when they were about to have sex, and she's going, okay. And he's asking these questions, which you say may not have been at the time, but think of the detriment that could have happened if they had sex.
I agree, but I think that all the time they've been spending, we've seen them being booed up on the couch, kissy poo and talking and walking and stuff, those were the times that they should have been having these conversations. And not when you're at the point where you get ready to get it in.
But here's the thing, and I think that onus in situations like that, I think onus is on the person who's not that much in love. Because here's the thing, if you feeling that if you're feeling this person and you are in love with that person, you're not gonna bring that up because you think she's where you are, because she's feeling him too. And Charlie, has been kind of fishing with him from point to point, right? Reeling him in, giving him a little room, and then she reels him in. So Charlie had another plan, maybe another. She was seeing something else in that relationship, and I know she could see what he wanted.
Well, most of the time, women usually ask. We're usually good about that.
But that's how you can tell that she's not there
exactly,
yet.
Because she didn't
we usually like where are we going?
Right, exactly.
A lot of us are good for that.
And if you're not asking,
what is this?
Exactly. And if you're not asking, it's because you already know.
Yes. And the other thing about Charlie I was thinking about was, if this conversation had never happened, she could really have ruined Remy, because he has already been grieving the death of his ex-wife, and he was really holding off with her to try to make sure that they got to a point where they were good, where they could take things to the next level, and he's already thinking they're there, we're at the next level, and then here she comes dropping this bomb on him. Like, she really could have dragged him through the mud and back.
In fact, go back to the scene, the opening scene, when she approaches him and she's all but saying, hey, I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
And he says...
And he said, I haven't been with anyone since my wife. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, but she was thinking about just getting it in. He was like, he was talking about being with her for real.
For real.
And that's why
he wants more than just sex.
And that would have been the time for Charlie to say, hey, we need to talk. Because I see where you're headed. I know where you're headed. You didn't have a divorce. Your wife was taken from you.
Right. Yes.
And you want that again. You want that relationship again. Having a divorce and the kind of divorce that Charlie had with Davis, it's a destructive thing.
Yes.
And it destroys your whole fundamental ideas about marriage and relationships as well, which is exactly why I don't think that she's ready to be into any kind of deep relationship with anybody. In fact, she really needs to be neutral until she's come to some conclusions about what's going on in her life.
Right. And she's probably thinking it herself. She's probably thinking in the meantime we can get it in. Yeah. And
not realizing all that comes
have a Netflix and chill type of situation. But you can't do that if a person wants more.
I was having a conversation with my daughter, and she brought up something that was quite relevant in some senses, but an eye-opener. And what she said, it's interesting how the women have the male names and some of the men have female names. It's basically just about Remy and Charlie. And she said, I wonder if there's a dynamic in the show that shows that or reveals that. And the more we look at this, the more we start seeing the reversed gender type of relationships that are going on.
That is a really good point.
Yeah, I had to give her kudos for that because
go ahead, girl.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say that's
insightful.
Hey, just like her dad. What can I say?
Well, I think I will credit mom.
Of course you would.
And another thing with Remy and Charlie is that Remy really he's compromising himself for her. He's saying like, okay, I'm gonna ride this out with you for now. But what do you guys think could happen potentially if things don't work out? And that's what I think is the bad thing about mixing business with pleasure, because I think it's gonna end up hurting the sugar mill ultimately if they cannot work it out.
Well, I think that he's professional though. That's one thing he's really mature. If anything, it's gonna be Charlie being messy.
Yes.
Charlie's too financially wrapped into that mill to do anything crazy. But I think that when love is involved, man, all common sense flows out the window.
Right, but I think Remy is going to want to keep it strictly platonic, and Charlie, how she's used to getting her way, she's going to still want to be like, well, she's not going to appreciate the cold shoulder.
Oh, no.
I see it going another way. I see actually Remy picking up and leaving and not wanting to be anywhere near Charlie. Because
he probably would cut her off. Yeah. If she's playing games, I don't think he's going to have it because he's already had one loss.
Right. And I don't know if he can withstand Charlie not being where he wants her to be. And the point you made a minute ago about this trade-off that they had at the table, it seems a lot like Remy is saying, okay, I'll play your game for now, and let's see where this goes.
Right.
But that's a train wreck. That really
He's
could
never
be a
going to
train
get what
wreck.
he wants.
No, well, for him to get what he wants, she has to heal, and then understand that what he's searching for, she's actually searching for as well.
But she might get there, though. I mean, I don't think that we should assume that she's never going to get there.
And I'm not making that.
Because she's going to heal, and she might be like, okay, I'm ready.
That's
and
true.
no way am I making that assumption. I'm just saying that, there are not enough tea leaves for me to figure out where she's going to be in the future. I got to deal with her present. I got to deal with where she is now.
Where she is now.
Because as far as Remy is concerned, Remy is at a place that requires a woman to be very much where he is.
Yeah, I just think that Remy's willing to compromise more than Charlie is right now.
Right.
And that could be a train wreck.
Yes, it could.
It could be.
And speaking of Charlie, Nova and Charlie, they are sisters for sure.
Yeah.
Because those two are way more alike than they think they
Cut
are.
from the same cloth.
Now talk about a train wreck with Nova. Man.
Well, in as much as I have over time looking at the show, I blame Nova for a lot of things because, basically she's a train wreck within herself. I mean, she's
I love her spirit, though.
I do too.
I do love her spirit. I love that she's a free spirit. And
she's almost too free spirit, though. I mean, she wants this white guy. She likes women. Now she wants Dubois. Where are you, sweetheart? I mean, where are we in this mix? Where are we in this mix?
She's a free spirit.
A train wreck, as I said. It's a train wreck waiting to happen. Hey,
no one is all one thing.
Well, pick and choose.
Yeah,
I think that because these are arenas that you're trying to to deal with, and they each have their own problems. You can't be in all three. Now, she made a very valid point toward the end when she was saying to the white dude, the cop, Calvin.
Yeah.
When she was saying to Calvin that she can't, and as far as what she's concerned, he's like a prison for her. And I could see that.
Yeah,
because
she's always going to have to answer to somebody about her choices.
And particularly that choice. Here you are,
And she wants him too.
She
really wants him.
Her jaw was on the ground when he came in there. I was like, her face, I said, oh my gosh.
Did you see her melting?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see, and the thing is, and and that's why I had a conversation off campus with this, in the sense of saying, as much as she's trying to get in, it's the same situation with Remy and Charlie. She's trying to get on and move on with Dubois. Dubois. At the same token, you got this thing back here that you ain't through with.
Yeah.
And that was quite evident.
I could not believe how much she hadn't moved on from that situation. It's like she forced herself to get over it, but then...
Well, she thought it was out of sight, out of mind. But when he came in there...
She melted to the floor.
Woo!
They both did. I mean...
They both,
and
the love was still there.
And he's willing to give her whatever she wants.
Yeah. And I think that's a problem for Nova. Because she's so... She's an extreme person. She's nowhere in the middle. She's either on this end or this end. There's nothing in the middle.
She has no cut.
And so with her, it's like so much of who she is.
She's very explosive.
It's explosive and it's based on what she wants.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what your suggestions. If it's not my way, it's the highway. It's
just like the television program that they were on. Now, Dubois, come on. You don't change in midstream and...
Yeah, he was wrong for that.
And set her up. But...
That was some good
he
TV.
might have been wrong.
But it was good TV. But I got where he was coming from.
Yeah, and he knew she could handle that. See, and so... I agreed with it 100%.
She was just like...
But see,
she just like hit me up.
Okay,
but
had he hit her, but you know what? Had he hit her up, I'm thinking that he's thinking that it wouldn't have been as explosive on television because
he said that
exactly,
yeah,
and so he and this is where she should have lightened up.
She should have.
She should
my
have.
whole point is everybody told her
it wasn't a deal breaker,
right?
No.
But I do understand why she was mad.
Exactly.
Agreed. But given the circumstances, you being on television and you want this kind of back and forth because you want people to be basically on your side or pick a side, and that's what makes good TV. And she still couldn't see the element involved because of her own personal wants and desires, she couldn't see
she's
the good from it.
She's a selfish person.
No, that's a perfect word for it. She's very selfish-minded to the point that she couldn't see the good from it. Because, most people would have gone, oh, okay, I see where we're going now.
Well, Charlie got it. Charlie got it, and that's because Charlie is savvy. She's been in L.A., she's used to maneuvering that way. Charlie was like, no, I thought it was good TV.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it wasn't until Charlie said something where she was like,
Yeah, she's ready to think about it.
Maybe.
Well, even Aunt Vi told her pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
And not to invite him to the thing because she's so through with him. I mean, are you that through that fast?
Well, she was. When she came, she cut that brother off at the knees.
Yeah.
So
when he came, I was like, dang,
no remorse.
No.
Yeah, she was like, I was like,
man,
let that man love you. I was just like, I get that you were mad and stuff, but I was like, he ain't dead. He deserved it.
Who she gonna talk to? The friend that won him.
Right.
I was like, girl, you be telling your problems to the girl.
The girl code. That's what he talked about.
Right, exactly.
You know the guy code, but the girl code.
Yeah.
Shoot, you going to cry on her shoulder? She gonna be up like,
he's available.
Excuse me, I gotta go.
Right. No, you tripping.
Yeah, and I thought that it was real crazy though how she. Well, I understand her reasons for doing it because she felt like he was changing who she was. But she needs to be more yielding.
She does.
She is not willing to bend.
And this is where I had to actually give some balance to Nova because, in a way, he is trying to change and make Nova something that he wants her to become, and that's wrong. It's just wrong. And, because she. Okay, so what if she wants to be in her community fighting for black awareness, black lives matter, all these other things that she's fighting for, and you want her to go to a higher platform, thereby leaving the one that she's very comfortable in. That's not right. It's just not right.
She's comfortable with grassroots, and he wants
the
big picture. He sees the bigger picture, and that's another language barrier that they're having in this program, that people aren't making. They're making decisions that aren't conducive to any kind of level of discussion or communication. What are we doing here?
Look, that's going to play into our conversation later.
Oh, yeah. Or
10 mistakes that men make. Oh,
no.
We coming for y'all. Just hold on.
I'm going to try to hang in there, brothers, but I can't promise you anything, okay? And RD, look, stay with me, bro.
You know what I thought was funny though with Nova was when the Calvin, the white guy, the cop, he was basically willing to give her the world, and he had mentioned how he had been doing stuff for other people all his life. He married his wife for her reasons, and he had children because she wanted them. He joined the cop the force because his family wanted him to, and all this stuff. And I'm like, you're sitting up here telling her how much of a pushover you were, and Nova's a strong woman. She don't want to hear that.
It goes to one of our very first topic in the 10 mistakes that men make. Giving a woman too much power. But we'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Goodness. I'm just like, you just going to tell me up front that you're a pushover and think that I won't want you?
Hey.
Let me walk all over you?
Big time mistake, man. Big time mistake.
That was funny to me. But I could appreciate Nova not willing to bend, but
But again,
like, girl,
but at the same time, she could have found that endearing. Like, okay, he's finally saying, okay, I made all these concessions for other people, and right now I'm
you are my choice.
You are my choice. Yes. I'm making a choice. So finally, he was making a stand. So
right.
He had been a pushover, but I think at that point he was.
And something else too. I think she was wrong on the perception that she gave with him in terms of she being in prison, because here we're talking about a situation where cops, mainly white cops against black kids or black folks in general, and cops aren't being, they're not being charged for the things that they do when it comes to shooting black folks. And maybe if the two of them got together, that the community can see that those two things can coexist.
Yes.
And then he and she make a charge that the two can coexist. Maybe that could bring some sort of.
Well, you got to think about right. They're in New Orleans. They're in the deep South. Think about what happened during Katrina.
Martin Luther King was in the deep South too, so
and what happened?
Well, we're not saying that you're not going to go through war. You're going to go through a war, but she can't win this war by herself.
No, I agree. Mm-hmm. But her frame of reference. I mean, remember in the first season, she got spat in her face. The guy spat in her face in front of him.
And
then he had to fight for her. And I think in her mind, she was like, this is what I'm going to have to deal with if I stay with him.
Well, she's used to fighting. But he's willing to accept that, you know, bless him.
Yeah.
He's willing to accept that.
I'm like,
you know, but nonetheless, you love the guy. He loves you. There's something there.
I think she would push away Jesus.
Well, that look that she had when he walked in that
it's
cafe.
clear. It's clear she loves him. But I think Nova being Nova, like, she gets in her own way. She sabotages, you know, and she's the free spirit. I mean, think about her mom. Her mom basically pushed Ernest to another woman. I mean,
yeah. And she's doing the same thing.
She's doing the same thing.
And as much as she tries to fight for the community and all this stuff, she doesn't have balance in her life to where she can say, I need this for me. She doesn't do anything for herself.
Exactly, because she gives so much to the community, she's not even thinking of herself.
And it's so ironic, though, because we just talked about how selfish she is.
Right, that's true. Well, yeah, that's interesting.
And Charlie had to tell her to buy some things for herself when she was dealing with Dubois.
So it seems like she's selfish with everything but the black community.
Maybe she has
She's selfless with other people,
but for herself.
But she's denying herself for the community, and that's a mistake, because she needs to see who's there to help her. You can't do it alone.
Right.
No. Nobody can.
Self-love.
Exactly.
Self-love.
That community can't keep you warm at night.
Right.
Oh, here we go.
Right.
Well, I want to talk about Aunt Vi now, because Aunt Vi, she had like little bits and pieces in the first in episode 12, but in episode 13 we got a big bombshell about Aunt Vi and her lupus situation. She had finally been diagnosed. And I thought that her reaction was, obviously when you get news of that you've been diagnosed with like a disease a chronic illness, you're going to be devastated. But it just seemed like she was, I don't know. It seemed like a death sentence for her almost. Like she was almost wallowing in herself. Like it was the end of the world and nothing could be done about it. And the doctor even kind of comforted her and was saying, I'm here to help you through this. And she was really kind of like just dumbstruck in front of the doctor too. And so I'm like, well, is she going to tell anybody?
Well, and I can relate to it on personal experiences that I've had, I've had bouts with cancer, kidney cancer. I had the removal of my left kidney, but I can tell you right now, not one day did I think of pushing back anyone or even keeping it a secret. I'm telling you out there now that, look at me. I'm nearly 5 years out. I've been cancer-free for the whole point. I try to keep myself healthy by doing healthy things. But the healthiest thing you can do is have people who care about you around you. And this is part of why we do this show. It's because of the fact that, it takes a village. It really does. And Vi doesn't see that. She wants to turn inward and block everything else out, and thinking that will do nothing but cause whatever problems you have to worsen.
Right. And we didn't see Hollywood in this latest episode 13, because he's away for work. But I'm even wondering if she's going to mention it to him, because he already knows that something's
up. Well, he knows something's wrong.
Exactly. And I don't think she's going to be so forthcoming with that information. I think he's going to find out a different way.
And I hope that she doesn't try to push him away because of it.
I think she might, because we see that she tried that with Darla. Like, she agreed to prepare the food and everything else for Darla's wedding to Ralph Angel, and then she gave her, a BS excuse about why she couldn't and everything. But basically, she's like wallowing in shame or whatever over this diagnosis. And we know people. I know folks who have lupus, and not trying to minimize that disease. It's a chronic disease, and there isn't a cure for it, but it's manageable. It's manageable. You can live with it. And so her life is not over. Right. And I think it's kind of, I think I said to you offline, I think it's like generational. That, I don't know, with her being in the South, or I don't know if it's, the generation that she feels like, man, I can't let my family know that I'm dealing with this.
I think it's a pride thing.
Pride too.
I'm more inclined to believe it's pride than generational, because you could just see by how even when she, in her relationships, how she, I don't know, she feels as though there's a certain amount of control that she has to have, or if she doesn't want to feel like she's losing control. Even
she's
in
the matriarch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's again, it goes back to what my daughter was saying about the whole essence of Queen Sugar. Are we actually seeing something different? Is there an overtone that's being posed in this whole programming about very strong women? And is it trying to tell us something?
I think so. I mean, I think we can all see a little bit of ourselves in any one of these characters.
Right.
And especially in the Black community itself, like I think we can relate to a lot of these instances, a lot of these characters, and I think with Aunt Vi, she reminds us with like a lot of our older aunties and grandmas and stuff like that. You know how they're just stubborn and stuck in their ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's why I said generational, because I have some family members that would kind of be like that, not really want to deal with illnesses and certain things, or may not tell other people, or may not even tell you at all. Like, I've had that happen within the family, and family members be sick and not say anything, and they want to tell you.
And it could be out of pride, or it could be out of, not wanting to make people worry about you.
And
that too, they didn't want to be a burden.
That's more of the case. That's more of the case. But they don't go into a cocoon like Vi's doing. Vi is just, she's escaping from the very healthy things that could keep her healthy. Because
I beg to differ, because I was like, because my own mother kind of did that with.
But she didn't push you away.
She was a little bit at first. Me and the family had to. Just the backstory. My mother passed from cancer several years ago and everything. But before it came to the point that she had a diagnosis, and my mom was a nurse. Mm-hmm. She was refusing to go to the doctor. She was having symptoms. She didn't tell me. I had to find out. I had to push. So she was pushing people away. She didn't want anybody to know. She was doing a lot of the things that Aunt Vi is doing. So that's why I said I can see where Aunt Vi is coming from. Not that it's right, because we had that conversation. We being the family with my mother at the time too, saying like, hey, we're here to support you, and we recognize that this is a change, and that you feel like you can't be as independent, because my mom was fiercely independent, and then for this to be happening to her and everything, that was a lot of the reason why she was acting the way she was and pushing us away, because she didn't really quite know how to deal with it. So we had to assure her and say like, look, we understand that you're going through these changes, but we're here to help. We are here.
And I was gonna say, speaking on that, it could just be initial shock for Aunt Vi. It's very early on. She just found out. I mean, in the sequence of the show, it seemed like it was within the same week that all this stuff is happening. Yes. And so it's still early on, and who knows, she might come around where she's like, okay, I finally accept what's going on with me. Maybe I need to say something.
But she's not, bed-stricken or anything like that. I'm still trying to work out what message she's trying to send by not helping Darla as she promised. I mean,
well, I think she was just in grief. Like, she was crying on her bed, and, I think that she wanted some time to be with herself instead of hosting Darla and her family. And we already know when Darla and her family come, that's a whole nother set of drama that I don't know if I can deal with being recently diagnosed.
Okay.
So,
You think otherwise?
I understand.
Okay.
I get it.
Well, speaking of that dinner, Darla's family finally comes into town after years and years of not seeing her because of her drug addiction, and now she's finally clean, and she's trying to introduce her family to Ralph Angel's family. And
I was not feeling her dad.
I can
just say that. Mom was okay.
Yeah, Mom
was
good.
I was not feeling dad.
No, let me say this to you guys who have daughters. Look, your daughters are everything to you, and you should be to them, because to sit at a table and notice all the accomplishments of the other two young ladies, and you're not really even paying attention to your daughter. I don't care what she's done to you. If you can't see as a dad that young lady has changed, that she has now become the very woman that you wanted her to be, and you don't do that. I'm a father, and I don't care how angry my daughter makes me. I'm not going to suspend my love and what I have for her. That's not gonna be suspended for any reason. So y'all guys get it together, because you're teaching her something. And luckily, Darla has a good relationship and has a good family around her, because really, by all intents and purposes, she could be dead, or should be.
Right.
But she's not. She's very much alive, and she's kicked this thing pretty much on her own. So, Dad, get a grip.
And her father, the guy that plays her father in the show, he is always the bad guy.
Always.
And when
he's a good actor. He's a good actor.
When I seen him, I went straight back to Eve's Bayou, the guy that killed Samuel Jackson.
Right.
I'm like, oh, that's him. And I'm like, he's always the bad guy.
Yeah, always.
What I appreciated is how the family stepped up. Like Ralph Angel spoke up on Darla's
and
behalf.
Charlie
said something to it. And I was like, good for them. And I tweeted that. And like, good for you guys for coming to her aid and praising her in front of her parents.
Yes, because she could have easily been like, okay, everybody beating up on me, let me go get high.
That's exactly what she needed, and that's exactly what family does. And that's why I say for Vi, you need that family circle, because it's a healthy one. It can help you heal. So, but then again, I guess I can't be too strong on Dad, because,
Oh, yeah. We know what happened next. Before we get there, though, I want to talk about a little bit about the relationship that Aunt Vi and Darla's mom had, because I didn't realize that there was a backstory behind that. Yeah. Apparently, the mom had been sending checks to Blue.
Yeah.
And I was surprised by that. I was like, oh.
Yeah, there were a lot of surprises in 13, and that was certainly one of them, because I'm like, wait a minute, when did this happen?
Yeah.
But it seems like Vi and Darla's mom has had some sort of they were familiar and had a relationship.
Yeah, and that shocked me, because initially Aunt Vi, when Darla started coming back into Ralph Angel's life, she was very adamant about her about Ralph Angel staying away from her. And I'm like, oh, so you've been knowing her mother all this time, but you kind of like shunned her a little bit initially. And I get it. It's because of her history of telling people lies and saying that she's going to get clean and then going back and forth.
She knew more than we did at that time.
Right. At the time, the mom was providing support for Blue, and Aunt Vi was basically raising Blue while,
I get it.
He was in the bed.
Right.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize that the history between Darla and her parents was so bad. Like, I knew they had a strained relationship, but I didn't realize how many times she had lied to them.
Oh, they disowned her.
Yeah,
they disowned her.
Well, actually, she disowned them, as we find out through the porch conversation.
Her mom
with
said
mom. So now we got a bigger picture.
Exactly.
Other than just,
because Darla played the victim for a long time.
Yes, she did.
Because my whole idea of her parents were just people that had shunned her and didn't want anything to do with it.
I had a different idea of who they were going to be, and then I seen it, and I'm like, okay, her dad don't rub me the right way, but he's not as bad as I thought he was.
No, he's not. Right. But again, I'm not going to disenfranchise my daughter in front of people. I'm just not going to do that.
That wasn't cool.
Yeah, he a trip. And we finally get to the scene that you was mentioning where they are outside at the tree kind of talking.
Yeah, so he went from a 3 to a 5 with that scene for me. I still, she was pretty much pouring it on like she did with her mom, and I couldn't quite read him. I didn't know whether he was actually accepting it or whether... It
was hard to tell if he was being genuine or if he was trying to out her some more.
Right. I couldn't get that until he... And then the comment he made about another bombshell, are you truthful with Ralph Angel? You need to set yourself free with him.
But that was facts, though. You cannot start your marriage with a secret that big.
Well, that was somewhat insightful from a man who seemingly didn't want anything to do with his daughter. And that's where I came back to center with him. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe he does care. He cares that his daughter gets into a marriage with no secrets. And that was one huge secret to get involved, to have to yourself. So getting to that... Oh my God. I mean, when we talk about bombshells, Ralph Angel, will he ever get over that? Because he's such a powder keg. He's always waiting to explode.
But he loves that boy.
Yes,
first off,
does.
Well,
even though this happened, I think he is still going to love Blue as his own.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that's going to stop.
No.
It's not with Blue. It's going to be with Darla.
It's gonna be with Darla.
Yeah, that's why I don't think they're getting married.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, well, at least not now.
Look, that's a hard pill.
That's a
Because
very
Blue is what, 6? For
Yeah,
6 years,
for 6
you
years.
allowed him to think that
You
this was
knew
a
the
child.
whole time.
Well, she said in her defense, she says I'm not sure, and
Okay.
my thing. Okay.
Well, she should have said
look,
she wasn't sure.
Look, y'all know better than I do. Daddy's maybe, mommy's baby. I don't know. So
Look, I can remember watching the show first season and looking at Blue, and I know he's just a character that they casted, but they do cast people for a reason.
Right.
And I'm like, this little boy a little bit late to be Ralph Angel's son.
But so is Darla. So,
I know Darla is late, but melanin rules in terms of DNA.
But both of Darla's parents are light.
Yeah. Because a
So,
lot of times, yeah.
Melanin is powerful, so most children that
But
are
you know
mixed,
what, though?
you can see a hint of it in them.
I got
But you know what though? When my son was younger, Darren was lighter than both me and him. But he took on like my mom and my ex's mom's.
I got one better for you. I was at the hospital helping my daughter come through that channel, and when she came through, that's whose baby was.
Right. So that's what I said. Sometimes
it takes a little bit.
The genes.
Yeah.
Like,
but 6 years later, and you still ain't got that color.
I looked at my wife and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
You want to tell me something?
Look, I'm just saying what everybody was thinking already. And, I kind of put it to the side because I figured that maybe they had already addressed that issue. But now with this episode coming up, we find out that Ralph Angel don't know nothing. I was like, wow.
He went to his knees.
And
this, and I'm like, you just destroyed him.
Yes, you did.
I was like, oh,
and not
my
so much,
gosh.
and because of all that he had, all that he's been through, all that he's taking on, and he opened himself to accept her back unconditionally. So it seemed, and she does that.
Right, and a lot of what he has done and has been able to accomplish has been because of that boy.
Blue, right.
Yeah, definitely.
He's wanted to do everything for Blue and everything, and now you telling him that Blue is not his, or possibly is not his.
Yeah.
I was like,
I just find it hard to believe that
Darla.
he never doubted her before, especially with her history of sleeping around with different men for drugs and stuff. He already knew about that.
Mm-hmm.
And so with Blue, I'm just going back to basic appearance. Like, you look at that baby, and he's light. And I think every man would say, okay.
Light and curly hair. I mean, if he had,
Well, she is light with curly hair.
Yeah, but give me something from that.
Yeah,
from
right,
me. I'm
right.
not,
Ralph Angel is a chocolate drop.
Yeah,
chocolate.
He is.
With little beady balls up on his head. So, give me some curly hair. That kind that you can pick and hurt somebody with.
Yeah, and this is not to be racially insensitive
or
anything.
But
Genes or something. Because my cousin tell me, who is deceased, he was light skinned. He had green eyes. Neither one of his parents had green eyes.
That's a bad
And sometimes it can skip a couple generations.
Yeah, it was right. So he came
if you can find it in that generation.
Now, he did look like my uncle, though. He looked like him, but he did not. Nobody had green eyes. So, he was tall. My uncle and my aunt are not tall. So, but my grandfather was.
Well, we
so
can go back.
As
long as we can go back and take a look.
Right.
But little.
Look, my daddy dark, your daddy dark, his daddy was dark.
Everybody dark, and you
but
come out.
Darla is light though.
Okay, but we happen to know that male gene is a very strong one, and
my dad is dark skinned. Am I? No.
Well,
so that doesn't mean.
But you're
anything.
not. But you're not fair like
I'm
this
not,
either.
I know, but my dad is dark.
But you got some of his melanin in him,
right.
I can see that. Hey, we're good. We're good. Because that's a whole nother issue.
Yeah. Right. And so I just want to take a Maury moment. We're going to do a little bit of a prediction here and say, in the case of 6-year-old Blue Bordelon, Ralph Angel, now I'm saying you are not the father. Okay?
Well, since you said that, I know for Power we always had the who can get these hands segment. Do we need to bring the Who Can Get These Hands
Darla
segment?
needs
Is Darla on the list this week for Who Can Get These Hands?
She need a good smackdown for holding that in for 6 years.
I think she'll get the hands on the condition that it was the way you brought it up.
She was forced to bring it out. It wasn't on your own accord that you were.
But you just, you come out the door, your hands on your hips, and you just spring it on them. I'm saying, could there have been a more appropriate
Speaking
time?
of that, the way that she revealed it, I'm wondering if maybe she felt backed into a corner because of her father. Like, if you don't say something, I am.
I'm wondering that too.
She had that appearance.
I'm wondering that too.
It looked very forced.
Yeah, it looked like, because it was just so abrupt. I'm like, did you really want to give him that kind of information?
She didn't, because she would have done it way sooner.
Yeah, that's a lot of information to give at one time, and then you just threw it out there.
Yeah, I'm worried about Darla because Ralph Angel, he is not going to want to be bothered with her for a little bit, and I feel like she might relapse a little bit.
She can slip back in.
I'm worried about her. I want to give her the hands, but I also want to give her a hug.
I wouldn't give her the hands. I wouldn't give her the hands because she's come from a lot. She's having to deal with a lot. Her father sprung it on her. I don't know to say it's a good thing or not, but
what else does the father know? Could the father? Do you think the father may have messed with her?
You know, I told you he always the bad guy. He probably got some.
I can't see that.
I hope not.
I hope not. Let me not say that I can't see it. Let me say that I hope that that's not the case, because Darla's mom she seems to be a real sweet mom. And there seems to be some sort of relationship with them, but again,
sometimes women turn their head.
Yeah, they do.
On things
and as I started to say, with all the bombshells that keep coming out with this show, we can come. That could be a possibility.
Light skin.
That
might be why he's forcing her to come clean. Like, hey.
Yeah. Well.
My goodness.
No, I hope not. I hope not. But I'm also a writer, so I'm like,
Yeah. You and I got to talk. I got a film project I want to do.
So I'm like, they may go there. Who knows?
Yeah. So I don't know. I hope that Ralph Angel. I want them to get married, but they got so much work to do. They got a lot of work.
Well, sometimes things have to be what they are. I mean, they both come from horrific backgrounds. They both had, I should say, their history. They've come to a place, and it's a good place. And they've both been in some, horrific situations. I wish Darla had
been up front.
Yes.
Well, or approached it in the manner in which I'm saying now.
Yeah.
I did some bad things. One of them being not telling you any sooner than what I'm about to tell you. I don't know. It still would have played out the same way, but my point is, you have to find a way to spring that.
But
I'm almost on the inclined to say, might she have gotten his DNA some kind of way and went to Vi or her mom and said, "Look, can we match up this DNA? Help me match this DNA to see if this boy." I think
she was just complacent with not knowing.
Yeah,
because she doesn't want to dig up the past and create a whole.
But wouldn't you want to know? Because
she probably does want to know, but she has just gotten clean.
But if she had known, had she known that Blue is definitely not the father, then long before these arrangements of marriage were brought up, she could have brought that out the first.
But
she was scared of losing the relationship because they're finally on good terms.
She needed the relationship.
She was scared of losing the relationship, and look how Ralph Angel behaved when he saw the other one. He was really cold to her after she ran into the dude at the gas station, and look how he behaved with something like that. So imagine how he would have been.
Oh, we're going to see it next week.
Oh, we are going to see
So
it.
we're saying that she had no choice.
Well, I'm not saying she didn't have a choice. But I think Darla, we're starting to see a manipulative side to her, because with her parents coming, you can see how she kind of manipulated them a little bit.
We're seeing some things in her that
she's not as sweet and innocent as we think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not as much a victim as we thought.
I cannot wait for next week.
I know. It's on.
This is good. This is so good. But I think we kind of talked about our Queen Sugar portion a little bit. And so now we want to go into the real talk portion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. This is real talk. Men, I'm going to give you 3 seconds to go grab something to drink. And I hope it's stronger than lemonade, because you're going to need it. Well, let's hope you got it, because here we go. The top 10 mistakes that men make in relationships.
Spotlight is on the fellas today.
Right.
So this is not a man bashing segment, but we just want to bring to light some of the things that you should not do.
And I like to start out by asking the question, the very top, number 1, giving a woman too much power.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you two ladies, different backgrounds, experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that we men do? Is that a mistake that we do? How do you feel about that?
Now, just the wording of this, it puts you on the defensive for a woman.
Well,
You're giving a woman too much
well,
power.
let's identify let's identify the kind of power that we're talking
Please
about.
do
The
tell.
control in the relationship. So, in other words, honey, we're going out to dinner. Where would you like to go? Honey, what should I wear to this event that I'm going to tomorrow? Giving you complete control over the relationship.
That's asking for an opinion. That's
I
not
was about to say,
that's
that's not
not
power.
actually giving power and stuff. I mean, I think when you
deciding
say giving too much power, I see that as you allowing the woman to be more dominant in the relationship.
Well, that's
and
power.
stuff. And not
But
asking
not just
what
superficial
am I gonna wear to work tomorrow? I mean, that's something.
I didn't say
small,
work. I said at an event. So
whatever.
No, it's not whatever.
That's still lightweight,
Okay.
Ron. You know what I'm
How
talking
about telling me?
I'm talking about
How
real
about
issues,
telling?
right?
How about telling?
Somebody who's like really wearing the pants. I know.
But how about
for
telling me what friends I can have and what friends I shouldn't have?
Now
Well, that's being domineering. Yeah, that's being domineering.
But that's
some
also
way.
giving up power. I'm giving
Right,
you
right.
the
Right.
realm, the helm
Right.
here. So
And that's what I mean about giving a woman like too much power in the sense that she is more dominant in a relationship.
But is that healthy? And
I know
you know.
I know for me, I mean, speaking from a personal perspective, I mean, I don't do well in those type of relationships.
Why is that?
When a woman, because I need a man who can be able to stand up to me, somebody who can.
So level you
And
up.
a balance, yeah. I need
Yes.
a balance. I need somebody who can. Sometimes I recognize I need to be put in check.
Thank you.
So he
Oh,
needs.
so you are agreeing that
Well,
they're
don't
I'm just saying.
don't you
Okay,
try it,
hey,
don't
these
you
are their
try it,
words.
though.
You heard it,
Don't
guys.
you try it.
I'm just saying. Point one.
Right,
Okay.
right.
You see where we're headed here,
Look,
guys.
Ron is casting
Okay.
the rod out.
You
Right.
know,
Let's reel it back in.
I'm
you
fishing
try.
for salmon. Come on.
Right,
So,
don't you try it.
I'm just
saying,
asking
like
the question.
with a mate,
You
though,
answer
like
the
you
question.
can't let me walk all over you. So
Exactly.
there has to be a balance. I have to be able to
And
respect you.
Speaking going off of what Tiffany was saying, just piggybacking, I think that as women that are independent and know what they want, it's easy to be very decisive and, say, like, this is my way, this is how I do things. But when you have a man there that can offer another perspective, not necessarily, be dominant over you, because this connotation of power, it kind of gives me the idea is that, like, I'm above you and you're down here. It's like I'm ruling over you. It shouldn't be like that. It should be more of a balanced situation where I'm here and I might be a little bit over the top. I need you to bring me back down.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I call it being talked off the ledge. So sometimes when I know that I need to be talked off the ledge.
Well, let's get real here for a moment. Okay? Let's get real. And you either have been in or know of a relationship where, in today's society, particularly with black women, you typically are financially better off than your male counterparts. In a lot of instances, you get married with these situations. The male is making little money while the woman is making the bread. She's bringing home the bread and she's cooking it too. So she's doing everything. She's got the money. She's telling you, there's a situation comes up, and she's telling you what you can buy and what you can't buy. She's giving you allowances, and then she lets you know in no uncertain terms that she's the breadwinner. This is the kind of power that we're talking about, and we do know it exists.
I'm sure it exists. I don't personally know anybody in that situation,
Really?
but I'm sure it's out there. I'm not
I can tell you it's out there.
But I don't think that's either one of us.
No,
so I don't know if we're gonna be able to speak to this accurately.
I've been in a situation where I made more money than my mate and stuff, but that didn't mean that I was like, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. We still needed to operate as a unit, and you still have to afford that respect to the man and stuff. So I do know that it did cause problems, and a lot of times more so for the man, as far as his own ego and self-worth.
Well, is it ego or is it cultural? I mean, we're led to believe that the man is supposed to be head of the household in terms of his deed as well as what he brings in terms of finances. And we also know that circumstances doesn't have it that way. So the question is it what he's doing, or is it that because the woman being placed in a situation that may not necessarily be of her own doing? Because, I mean, you went to school, you graduated, you got degrees, and you got a great job. Okay, what's wrong with that? But then the question becomes, do you feel as though, what's yours is yours and what's his is yours too? In other words, are you willing to be in a financial place whereby you can give equal balance back to your husband? And honestly, that's a hard question to just answer, because it sometimes in and of itself, it denotes you being at a place above him because you are above him. Well, question is, can you come down when you need to come down?
This is a very individual answer. Like it's gonna be different for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's based on the individual. But most women, I can't even speak on most women. Most people I know, I think that it all comes in how you view provisions. Your man as the provider. Does it have to be financial? Can he help out in other ways? And I think that most people would see it from that perspective, where it's not like, okay, well, just because I make more money than you doesn't mean that you are, tossed to the side. You're not valuable. Like, you can provide in other ways that balance out this whole situation. Mm-hmm. And I think most women will look at it from that perspective, because we're women. We like to be optimistic, and we try to see the good in everything most of the time. Like, okay, he can't do this, but he does that. Mm-hmm. And it's really up to the man. This is the man tip, to be something more than just a financial provider. A lot of men see themselves, and if a woman is making more than them, they feel like, okay, she has the power in the relationship, or I don't want it to become a power struggle because she does make more. When really you should be saying, okay, so what, she makes more money, let me do something else that can balance off the situation. Mm-hmm. So that's ego. Now,
go ahead, Ron. It looks like you want to say something.
Snaps.
Go ahead.
I still think, and I'm going to hold true to my opinion of it. I think that, and the instances that I'm talking about, with the situation I'm talking about, I think that you're put in a position, maybe some women want that position, maybe some women want control, and those that don't, I think, are placed in that position just by sheer happenstance because of where you are financially.
Okay, so it sounds to me like what you're saying is with the power struggle between man and woman.
It turns out to be, because I think that's where our ultimate struggle begins, and this is why we're having this conversation. Mm-hmm. It's because we tend to take on outside problems and concerns, and we bring them inside, and it becomes our problems once we allow it through those doors. Mm-hmm. The question is, how do we keep the cultural aspects out of that relationship so that it doesn't become a burden in the relationship? Mm-hmm. So it does, though, require both parties to understand where you are, and then both parties fighting to making certain that what we are told outside or culturally doesn't become a reality in the relationship.
Okay. So we're calling this a mistake. This is mistake number 1, giving too much power.
Too much power.
And so I think that there's a fine line between what's too much. And I think that goes into where you're being domineering, like you gotta do this, or
to be domineering over you. And you tend to know that much earlier on in the relationship. It doesn't happen at the point of marriage. Mm-hmm. It's usually within the relationship that you can see these instances or personality flaws coming in.
All right, so men,
check it out. Number 2, trying to invoke too much of your own control. Now, guys, I really don't want to talk about this myself. I'd rather the ladies bring up any instance that they may have where guys.
Why not? Try to invoke. Why not?
Why not? Well,
yeah, I would like to hear.
Because honestly, I don't find myself to be that. I've never been that way. I believe in a balance. There are guys, and a lot of guys tend not to. If you the water cooler, if you're around the water cooler at work, guys have this persona of having complete control in their relationships at home. Taking over in the sense of, if I'm sitting for instance, we're both sitting watching television. Who gets the control?
Well, see, I think that it depends on your relationship and how you.
Men always fight over.
And I think that
we can't fight with ourselves. So if we're fighting, we're fighting with you. So am I trying to take too much control because I want the remote, or do I give up my domineering personality and give it over to you?
It seems like this question is really about compromise and your willingness to do it or not.
Yeah, but
and so,
do we really compromise? I mean, I think that I think it gets to the point of, in a relationship, somebody's going to have control. Mm-hmm. Okay? Somebody is going to have more control than the other. And that's very typical. And I think in most relationships, which probably could answer a lot of questions why men do what they do, is because you go home and the woman pretty much controls that.
Thank you. Runs the show.
She runs that show. And then he goes out and finds a side piece that lets him run the show. And so while he respects his home or loves his home, the side piece gives him a level of control that he can't get at home.
And that's why I think it's all about balance, especially for women, because even though we do a lot of times run the show, take care of the bills, clean, cook, and everything, the man he's still there in the picture, and
he still needs to be made to feel like he's the king of his castle.
But how do you do that when you are in that control atmosphere? How do you, as a woman, because
everybody has roles. Mm-hmm. Even in the Bible, it talks about the man and the woman's roles.
Yeah, but how do you explain to these women out here, particularly some of the younger ones that might not have experienced what we're talking about, but sure as rain, you're going to come across it at one point or another. How do you allow yourself to allow him to have those balances?
I think you have to let a man be the man. Like, just because you are really running the show behind the scenes don't mean that you have to rub it in everybody's face. Mm-hmm. While you're out in public to your friends and everything, they might think you really are the man. Like, okay, you got your... A lot of people say, you got your woman, your family in check. Everything going good. Mm-hmm. But they don't see behind the scenes, because they say behind every good man is a good woman.
Yeah, there's a lot of cliches.
I know it's very cliche, but is it not true a lot of the times?
Sure.
Most of the time. And I think for a woman, like, we're going to let you have that.
How about standing with every good woman is a good man?
That's facts too. I mean, it depends on your relationship.
But we don't say that. Yeah. We don't say
that is semantics.
Standing.
Look, the thing is,
it's semantically in terms of how we relate to it. But at the same token, in order for it to work, I cannot take on cliches. I have to make up my own understanding. My woman is beside me. Not that I'm in front of her or, she's in front of me. Mm-hmm. So there are going to be instances where she does take over.
Yeah.
And likely there are going to be instances where I take over.
And I think it's all about balance.
And sometimes it's 70-30, sometimes it's 50-50, and sometimes it's 100-0. But you have to understand its total outcome. Mm-hmm. You have to understand the bigger picture. You can't put episodes on these type of things.
Right.
It has to be that I understand the bigger picture. So, this month, you're doing everything.
Right.
Next month or in 2 more months, I might be doing everything.
Mm-hmm. But the point we were talking about was that point about trying to invoke too much of your own control, and this was specifically referring to the man.
Well, that's
and
what I'm saying.
The last part of that is it talks about like Tiara said, so you should definitely try to work within respectable levels when it comes to control. And it says whether it's your heavy-handed decision-making or demanding attitude, women don't like controlling man, and a controlling guy reeks of insecurity.
It's interesting though, because a lot of women do want a controlling man.
Oh, I don't know about that.
No, they don't. Not controlling.
You don't
not
want
controlling.
a father.
No, not controlling. When you were talking about, when I read this and we were talking about control and the man invoking too much control, it made me think of a show that I just watched the other day, and you probably don't watch this. Tiara may. Black Ink Chicago. Yeah, Black Ink Chicago, if you guys watched that. And there was an incident where the tattoo artist Van, his girlfriend Jen, apparently she accidentally had a nip slip on Snapchat. So he proceeded to send her nasty text messages all day and everything, to the point that he aggravated her that she came up to the job and she confronted him about it. And it got really testy. It got ugly. He jumped in her face. They were arguing and everything and stuff, which I think is very... It's just not becoming for a man to like jump and argue in a woman's face and everything. And it made me feel like, wow, he came off as being controlling, abusive, and some more insecure.
We also know y'all do that every scene.
I know, but he's a man though, and I'm saying that she was right to even come up to the job, the way she handled whatever and stuff. But he was. She said he was sending her nasty texts and everything all day because he thought that she did that on purpose. And she was like, it was an accident or whatever. And he was really nasty and just made a scene. And to the point that the other male tattoo artist came to the back to pretty much restrain him. Because the way he was arguing in her face and everything, it looked almost like he was going to snap and hit her.
And look, that is super unattractive. Like, okay, if it's an accident and something happens, okay, then let it be that. Like, just say, maybe you should try to wear maybe a higher neckline. But don't sit up here and act like you my father and get all up in my face and talk down on me.
It was really bad. And that was another example to me of, like trying to be controlling and abusive and domineering in that space. I was just like, wow.
Not to say that he doesn't have the right to be offended, because that's your woman.
Right.
But your delivery
his delivery was horrible. So
do you find, I don't know, maybe from either your own experiences or what you know of other women or friends of yours, do you find that this is a problem for most women? A lot of women?
I mean, different men. It depends on the men, because some men like to show off their women, the trophy girl, and
Well, men do that within.
But you're talking about, you're talking about in terms of being controlling and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
I know I don't do well with that. It's not gonna work for me. Like I said, I need a balance. Like I know that I need to be checked and stuff, but if you try to control me and things like that,
you can make suggestions.
You can make suggestions.
But I'm going to need for you not to tell me what to do.
Right. It's a way. Your delivery has to be right. It has to be right. You can't be controlling and domineering. That's not going to work.
So, guys.
It's interesting, though, guys.
Don't do that.
Well, no, don't. But I know a lot of guys out there, as well as I, can say that women do it all the time.
Oh, being controlling them? Yeah.
I mean, it's in your delivery, and sometimes your delivery is a little harsh because you make us sound like children. You'll ask us things.
Don't that go back to point one?
It goes right back to point one.
Have too much power.
And if you look at, well, actually, what are we down
one
the number?
One and two kind of tie into each other.
Yeah, they do tie into each other.
Yeah, and what we're talking about here, they coincide. They coexist here, because if I'm not mistaken, from some of you good guys out there, I'm not talking about you guys that just want to beat and batter women. We're not talking about that. But I think that a lot of us guys at one point or another have come across women that say they want a balance, but you'll be the first to throw a punch. A verbal punch.
I think it all comes down to how you deliver your message.
Well, that's my point. Your verbal punch. You'll be the first to throw one.
Right. So.
And then you'll say, and even if he says to you, in a what you call controlling manner, in which he may not be his point, but then you get that that head, that rocking head, and that what do you?
Hold up. Does this say top 10 common mistakes men
make
make
in relationships. Right.
Men?
Ron is trying to
He's
flip
trying
it.
to flip the script.
He's trying to flip it and make it about us.
I'm just saying.
We're talking about y'all.
Why all these? What I'm saying.
I just had to make sure I was reading
And
right.
just so you know, it was Ron's idea to focus on the men first. So now he's trying to flip it.
Flip the script. we talking about your gender.
Look. By no means am I trying to flip the script. Because I have one here, okay? I have the script. I'm not trying to flip the script. I'm only simply saying that in our attempts, men, to not make these mistakes, we have to also fully understand what we're getting from our mates, our relationships. See that you don't make certain mistakes. Because there are a few more here that we haven't gone through yet. So in an attempt that we men have these issues, and we do have them, giving a woman too much power, we can do that. Trying to invoke too much power on them, we have a tendency to try and do that at times. Another one is believing that the good you do today will last forever. Now, guys, I've been a victim of this years past. Years past. Now, you know, it's very easy in a relationship when you get involved in a relationship and you find out what makes this young lady tick. You know, sometimes it may be chocolate candy, or some women love flowers, and they love for you to, you know, you get into the habit when you're dating to send them flowers on the job just to let them know that you're thinking about them and you care about them, you love them, and then you get married and you have children. The flowers stop, the candy stop, the cards are non-existent. You even forget your anniversary.
That's a mistake.
Yeah, you should never do that.
And look, I'm gonna put this in terms that a lot of guys can relate to. Y'all love y'all cars. You buy your car, you treat it good, you shine it up, you go and get the oil change when it's supposed to.
You about to be sacrilegious,
look,
huh? I mean,
look,
hold on.
You out there, you don't even want the car wash to wash it. You want to wash it yourself. You taking extra special care of this car, and you maintaining it, not
Through
just
the
the day
years.
you bought it, not just the week after, but years and years down the line. You trying to make sure this thing stays in tip-top condition,
Yeah.
not putting too much mileage on it.
But have you noticed one thing about my car? It don't talk back.
Look, but that's okay though. Look, we ain't talking about all that right now. We talking about maintaining, okay?
Okay.
And so the same thing applies to your relationship. You need to put forth the effort to maintain. That means doing things like, you know, writing out a nice little card just because, or getting a flower here and there, or taking me out to a nice dinner. It don't have to be every week. Don't even have to be every month. But you need to do it.
Right. Tell them, Tierra. Look, it's funny because this research that we've done, well, Ron did, whoever that who put this list together.
Wait, hold on.
They say it starts off saying women have short memories and things. So it's a man that put this list together first.
Clearly.
Off, saying that because that was a jab.
Well,
you know.
well, you do. The whole point is, you don't remember. I mean, is it important? Let me ask. Is it important that if I, you know, at some point it even becomes a financial burden. If I'm sending you these flowers, maybe I was able to do it initially in the relationship, and then, you know, as the relationship goes on, I'm a little tight on money and I can't do this all the time.
It could be a walk.
It don't even have to involve money.
Yeah.
It could be
But for
something
some of
as
you, it
simple.
does have to involve.
Some people, but I think most women will appreciate a small gesture that is done thoughtfully. Something that, you know, she might have mentioned to you, you know, I really like when my clothes are folded up a certain way and they already put away so I don't have to worry about it when I get home from work. And you just take note of that, and what do you know, you do it one day for her and she noticed that you actually heard what she said, and she'll appreciate that.
Okay.
Well, going back to the research, this list here, it says being a good Boy Scout doesn't mean you are no longer obligated to do your chores. Keep doing the things you know are necessary for relationship success, which is what Tierra said about maintaining. And it says women appreciate good deeds, but they appreciate continuous good deeds even more. So it's about the deeds. It's not always about monetary things.
Gotcha.
So guys, I hope y'all are taking note.
I can't help you there, fellas.
Moving right along.
being domineering and overly possessive. I think
that sounds like
it's pretty much
the point number 2 about invoking too much of your own control.
It is, except that the overly possessive part.
What, is this one of those guys? This is my woman.
Yeah, well, yeah, in the sense that because you can go to a party with your lady, you know, you all separate for whatever, you know, maybe I went
jealous.
And I go out to get a drink and I come back and there's a dude talking to you and I don't know what's going on in the conversation.
Right.
You know, the question is, should you be talking to a guy like that? I mean, another guy, you know, I'm gone to step off, get a drink, and I come back and you know, you're cheesing all in another brother's face. What's going on with that? What's happening? Should I not get jealous of that?
Hey, there's a fine line between flirting and just talking. And so I think that it's up to the two people in the relationship to make each other feel secure. To the point where if I am talking to somebody from the opposite sex, you're not having any, like, doubts.
Right. And that and I agree 100%. But that security level goes far beyond the time that happened. It goes into the relationship in itself, you know, from day one. Do you give him that type of feeling that he doesn't have to worry about you?
Well, right. For some men, no matter how much you assure them, they're going to think that way. And that's not all men, because not all men behave like this.
No,
but for a man who...
And these are extremes, by the way.
Yeah,
these are extremes.
For some men who may be jealous or possessive and things, no amount of assurance will, you know...
cover that.
And I've
lay
seen
there for
some
years.
guys that, you know, a lot of stuff is on the internet these days, and you see so many instances of, like, women just being scandalous out here, and then they get images in their mind about women based on what they've seen, and it's kind of like propaganda. Like, it's beginning to influence you and who you think or how you think a lot of women in certain age frames act or whatever, and then you think like, okay, if I'm gonna be involved with you, then you probably act like them too.
Well, perception.
So let me make sure that you know how I feel.
And perception becomes truth because, as you said, I mean, we see so much out here in social media these days.
Propaganda.
And that perspective becomes my truth. I see you out there. I see you doing the same thing this girl did in this YouTube video, and so naturally I get that kind of that kind of feeling in my heart. So brothers, I guess what I'm trying to say to you is it can happen to us, and I know it happens to us probably more than we may want to admit. But hey, if you're out with your girl and your girl is having a conversation with someone because you stepped off and you come back, it's time for you to understand how to deal with that situation and how to determine where that conversation is going. So when you come back, she should immediately identify you and then take a step back from that person whom she's speaking with and more or less come toward you so that if this other guy does not mean harm or is not trying to pick your lady up, he's going to then strike a conversation with the both of you because you've positioned yourself toward your man, and he's either going to just leave or he's going to try to invoke a conversation with the two of you.
Exactly. And by you being overly possessive from the jump, you can really make a fool out of yourself.
Oh, big time.
So it's advisable for you to not do that.
Yeah, so cool your temper. And it doesn't mean that just because there's somebody else talking to your lady that he wants to pick her up. They could be friends from way back. You don't know. You weren't there at the beginning of the conversation. Just understand that she's talking, and when you walk up, look, trust me, it'll all come to light. So just give it a moment. Give her a moment to identify you.
And know who you're dealing with. Like, you picked your mate for a reason. So we hope, the right reason. But you should have these conversations early on about how to deal with people of the opposite sex and what boundaries need to be drawn. That should have been an early conversation that you have.
Great.
So.
And the last one, and I don't know how, I can tell you right now.
The last one for this evening.
Yeah, for this evening at least. But allowing family members or friends to dictate what happens in your relationship.
This is one.
Oh my gosh, that's a pet peeve. Look, I know I've been personally involved with that. I mean, I've had interference from friends and family in relationships and stuff, and it torpedoes the relationship. It does.
A mama's boy, you have to understand is probably more equipped to understand this more than anything. You know, sometimes we've forgotten the fact that you have to leave your mom's apron strings and carry on with your life as you see it, because your mother may not mean any harm, but you're a baby boy, and that's the way she sees you, and she's going to see you that way until the day you die. But once you take on a mate, your mother has to understand, and she can only understand through you, what you do, that this is a woman that I'm developing a relationship with. I need a certain balance in our relationship, and you have to be that third wheel, that third party out there. So allowing your mom to dictate when you see her, whether you come to dinner at your place or you know, whether you have to take your mate to dinner at mom's, or whether you can go out and enjoy the relationship, these are the things that you're going to have to somehow try to balance between your mom and your girlfriend. Because I'm going to tell you, your mother's never going to like your girlfriend, okay? She's just not. You better hope that she likes your wife. But she's never going to like your girlfriend because of the fact that these are two women who are vying for you. But at the same time, you got to understand, as a man, that your parents have to take a back step so that you can get on with living.
And you know what you just said about parents, it immediately took me to Think Like a Man, and that
I thought about
Terrence
that too.
J and his mom was just pouring it on heavy on him, and he could not get from up under her thumb. He didn't even seem to want to get from up under her
way
thumb.
too much. She really interfered.
And it's really a pet peeve for women, because we feel like we always competing with your mama or somebody. And even going beyond parents, a lot of people have friends that get in their ear.
I was about to say that. It's not always the parents. And when I was saying that,
I family and friends.
Family and friends. Because I've been in situations where the friends were in the dude's ear, or you know, my female friends was in the middle, or whatever. And it's just like, I've had some things sabotaged because of other people's involvement in relationships and stuff. So
and this is why, this is my personal thing, that I know a lot of women, we like to talk with our girlfriends about things that are going on, but don't go as soon as something goes wrong, go yapping to your friends so that they can already have an opinion about your relationship, and then when you go and patch things up with your man, they still in your ear talking about, oh, but he did this and that, and you gonna let that slide? And
well, case in point, I'll just say this: when I was married, I still had my girlfriends, but I was not disclosing when we had issues or whatever, because I was like, we'd get beyond the issue, and then my girlfriend and family members would still be mad and stuff. So when it came to time to separate, a lot of them didn't even know where it was coming from, because they were like, you didn't say. But I was keeping a lot of stuff to myself, and that's the thing. You got to preserve your relationship. I mean, you can have friends, you can have confidants, things like that. But to protect the relationship, I think there needs to be a certain level of privacy between. And
it goes back to that mom thing again, too, because guys do the same thing, but sometimes they'll go to their mother and tell their mother everything about what their girlfriend is doing, and sometimes moms don't need to know everything that what happens in your relationship with your girlfriend, because your mother's going to make a conclusion. She's going to draw a conclusion based on how she feels about you, not whether what you're saying has any merit, or whether or not, hey, let me go and listen to your girlfriend and see what she has to say, then draw a conclusion. Your mom's not going to do that. She's going to take your side every single time. So look, keep your whatever going on with your mate, keep it to yourself to the best that you can.
And look, I like to draw this because we talk about the show Insecure, and we've seen this on the show where Lawrence was talking to his friends about what Issa had done. She had gone and cheated on him, and they got all up in his head
and giving him bad advice, like a lot of men do.
And so if Lawrence and Issa ever decide to get back together, they gonna be all over him, trying to influence him.
Well, a lot of it, and that's a lot of the reason why Lawrence made a lot of the bad decisions. He was so busy trying to please
the friends.
The friends, and look like he was a man and not look like a sucker.
Exactly.
You know, he made all these bad decisions.
Instead of just keeping his feelings to himself, he could have, disclosed a little bit, but you don't need to give them the full spiel.
They didn't even need to know that she cheated on him. That's something you got to deal with that first before you start spreading that thing. Right. And really, do they really need to know that?
No.
So just fellas, letting people get in your ear. And you know how the male ego, I go back to that because a lot of y'all don't want to look like suckers to your friends, and you don't want to, look like you weak. So I get it, but at the same time, if you would have kept that to yourself, you would have never had this problem.
Well, you know what's interesting?
We gossip
They
too.
say that women. Thank you. I was just about to say that. A lot of times people think, "Oh, women, y'all run your mouth this and the other." I have discovered, especially while dating, that men, you guys talk just as much, if not more than
well,
women
I wouldn't
do.
say more, but I can.
No, you guys, no. Y'all carry a lot of tales.
We
Y'all
do.
stir the pot.
We do. I agree.
Y'all gossip.
No, we do. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say more, but I would certainly say.
I'm learning that you do more. Like in my recent experience, when it came down to it, it turned out that the men were doing more talking than the women involved in the situation, and I was like, wow. All the women were being cool about the situation, but the men in the situation were
skipping legs.
They were having beer summits like Obama did with Henry Louis Gates. I was like, man, these folks are running their mouths.
I'm with you, Tiff, because I done seen my fair share of dudes that don't know how to just shut it up.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I think that's going to be the first half of our discussion on the top 10 mistakes that men make.
Y'all want to
bring
that up? Y'all want to still? I thought we could close out on that one. You don't want to close out?
We can close out on that last one.
I'm just saying.
But
if y'all got more to say,
we got more to say. But I think we
might be
a
on
time. And we can finish it up, and then we can probably even invite some friends to join.
Let's do that.
That would be good.
That would be an interesting conversation.
Yes, it would. So, we're going to finish off the last 5 of the 10 mistakes that men make in our next episode. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so that you can be notified, because you are not going to want to miss this conversation.
And it's going to get juicier, trust me, because we have some guests that will, you want to see the explosion that comes up with that.
Just wait and see. And of course we'll be back with more Queen Sugar recaps, because we already know that episode 14 and the ones that follow is going down.
Right.
And I'm very anxious to see how Ralph Angel is going to take this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be on. I'll be surprised if they make it down the aisle.
Me too. But I'm rooting for them either way.
I mean, I'm rooting for them too. But
they deserve each other, but it's going to take some prodding to get them there.
Okay, so I know we've gone a little long today, so I think we're going to wrap it up. And again, make sure you follow us on our YouTube channel, obviously. And we're also on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Spot Real Talk. And if you would like to be a guest on our next episode, drop your email and we'll get to you with information about being on the show.
And please share your comments.
Share your comments,
we
share
love
the
to hear
video.
And share the video and the YouTube page to everyone, because we would love to hear from you. And I love the comments that you guys do leave. And so just keep it up. All right. Well, this is The Spot Real Talk. I'm Tiara.
I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Ron.
And we are calling it a night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.